We don't need 25 minutes of nonsensical rambling on every review, so let's fly through this extremely budget-friendly turntable preamp and compare it to another recent option, even coming in a little bit cheaper. Somehow. This is the Fosi X5 phono preamp. You require one if your turntable or amplifier doesn't already have one, or if in many cases you're looking for upgrades. This one fits the bill for the doesn't already have one, or simple upgrades on some of the really basic integrated turntable options. Phono preamps range from around $110 today on this X5 up to thousands of dollars, so this one might be a good fit for someone just looking to get into vinyl playback. The X5 appears to fall in with more of their premium lineup, along with other ones like the V3 monoblocks. They typically look a little bit more reserved and professional, have better component selection, and things along those lines. The case on this one actually looks pretty nice. It's simple but clean. Really the only thing sticking out is the orange power button on the front that gives it just a little touch of flair and branding. The power button is a simple push for powering on, and then it's just a slight hold for powering off. We also have this LED on the other side on the front here. It's not overly bright or intrusive while it's on. No spotlights on this one that many of us are looking to avoid, including myself. Looking over the case, there really isn't much else to talk about. Occasionally on the bottom, you get options for impedance settings, but not on this one. This one is more of a set it and forget it type of device, configured with the settings that are, they're gonna work for most cartridges available today. If you're shopping something for a more complex cartridge, it's likely you're shopping for a phono preamp a bit higher in the queue than around $100 anyways. Looking at the back, you have the input, and this is going to be the RCA coming from the turntable. A not so common note here is the ground post is on the far end of the amp. Generally, you see them paired with the input, but it's really not an issue. My only concern was if it's spaced too far away, certain cables, if they're attached to the RCA with the ground, if it would reach, but I tested it with a number of tables, different connections, and all of them were working just fine. The only thing to note is it's a touch close to the power input, in my opinion, the ground that is, but if you're just careful there, it really shouldn't cause you any trouble. Next, we have the gain switch, 38, 48, 56, and 66 dB, which is actually a nice selection. And while I normally wouldn't suggest people to pair an MC cart that likely costs 5 to 10 times this phono preamp, it should be able to do the job gain-wise. I generally expect 90+% of the people to pair the X5 with an MM cart. That is going to be more typical, but I'm going to test it with each just to see how well it performs. Next, we have the output, and this is what's going to connect to your amplifier or powered speakers, or I guess in some cases it could be a recording device if you want to go down that route. Lastly, the ground terminal that I mentioned, you can unscrew it. Some of these have a spade, or you can use a banana plug for the ground connection, so you're pretty well covered there. And then finally, the AC input. Take note of that so you don't put a DC power adapter into here, you will let the magic smoke out. If you open this one up, you do have the option to swap op amps if you so choose. There's lots of options out there you could go with from a few dollars up to Sparkos that costs, as much as this unit does itself. I won't be testing the differences today, but I just wanted to point out the option is there for your experimentation. It's just a couple screws and about 1 minute of your time to access them. Really nothing to watch out for taking these apart outside of obviously don't have it plugged in while you do it. I first tested this with a BIC 960 turntable and a Shure M91 ED cartridge equipped with a really nice stylus that I upgraded to a while back. I kept the gain at 38 dB and found that there was plenty of gain for this combo. It was actually pretty good for the price. The music had a decent amount of weight to it, no distracting background noise, that's pretty important. A decent blend of highs and lows without either really overstepping their boundaries. For $100, this is likely going to do all and more that you would require. It's not going to blow out preamps costing 5 times as much, but it carries itself well within this price point. Next, I moved it over to an MC cart. It's a Denon 105R on a Threnz TD160 table. You know what? It actually did a pretty acceptable job. It's not really common to pair something like this, but at the very least, I wanted to let everyone out there know that at the very least, it can do it. You're not necessarily getting everything out of your system, but it certainly doesn't leave you really disappointed either. As for comparisons, there's a few out there at this price point, but I only want to touch on the ones that I have in-house. The obvious comparison is the Aima T3 Pro, which comes in around $10 cheaper. The Aima has more features, a volume knob on the front, for some reason, similar op-amp choices inside. They're swappable as well. Adjustable impedance settings that could possibly give you a little bit more fine-tuning for various cartridges. The ability to support the MC and MM carts, but this one is gain limited in comparison to the Fosi X5. The Aima appears to peak at 39 dB, which is going to be fine for almost all of your carts, but could pose a problem for some of the MC carts requiring a bit more gain. Some of those can really require a lot of gain, actually. The Aima model is a bit coy about posting their gain. It's handled with a dial alongside a volume control, which is a bit different. I would say this point goes to the Fosi X5, more gain, more compatibility in my book. Features, I do have to give this one to the Aima T3 Pro. I don't find any need for the volume, but it's there. But they mainly get this point for the impedance adjustments on the bottom that some, but very few will likely need to adjust. Measurements go to the Fosi X5, a better signal to noise ratio as well as distortion. I would have listed off a few more comparisons here, but they weren't available one-to-one on these, so I just stuck with some of the obvious. I would have been curious to compare the RIAA characteristics on these, but I didn't see anything listed for the Fosi. Aima wasn't exactly clear either, giving a plus-minus 3 dB. Looks, these are pretty subjective, but in my opinion, I'm taking the little black box in the Fosi here. It's just a little cleaner looking, should be able to easily blend this in, well, pretty much anywhere. Finally, the sound. It's another one for the Fosi. Neither break the mold on phono preamps, but both do considerably well for their price points. I gravitate to the Fosi as I can hear less distortion, a little more depth and clarity is allowed to shine through with that, I think, the little bit less distortion that it gives out. I would say that gives a pretty clear-cut victory for the Fosi. It's roughly $10 more, but I found the fit, finish, and function just a little bit better in this case, and it would be my recommendation between these two, so as long as the default set it and forget it type of settings work for your cartridge, and it's likely they do. Fosi seems to have more products coming in this form factor. We have the V3 monos, this X5, the P4 preamp that I believe releases quite soon, and from what I gather, the roadmap contains everything from streamers to equalizers to who knows what. So this could be an interesting year for budget audio, as I'm sure the other usual suspects that we see at this price point are going to have a number of similar offerings. My ask to Fosi is to keep pushing forward on what would be called more your premium lineup. Really try to ramp up your efforts on the products that are based solely on performance and less so much on the gimmicks. I mean, throw in some fun, random style products every once in a while if these move the sales needle, but really try to take the next steps in your audio offerings. Dial in the use of filters with proper implementation, get into new higher end amp chips. If you can get into some of those and still keep the prices low, it could really disrupt the market in many ways. And most importantly, keep using the community for feedback along the way. You're going to get a lot of people out there that are going to be very willing to help on some suggestions to grow this whole thing. What's everyone else's hopes for 2025 here? Do you think we're going to see anything surprising, or is it going to be a lot of repeats from new brands trying to join the party? I know I'm getting a lot of emails for reviews, so this segment of the market doesn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. My question to you is, what would be the product that would force your hand this year? Likely something ending with Pro Plus Mega Ultra 10 or something like that. If you guys, gals could, please throw a like or comment my way. Even just dropping into the comments and saying hi can help to drive these videos out to a wider audience. If you haven't yet subscribed, give a guy a click. It helps me gain attraction from other companies to get in more interesting gear. Take care. Talk soon. Later.